Tour.
All right, people. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are watching in the world. I'd like to welcome you back finally to my short video series, the series that I haven't done in over a month. So yeah, consistent uploads. I mean, I've never heard of it. So yep, it's time to sit down and chat shit about Spurs for up to 15 minutes. Hope you're prepared for it. So of course now I am a bit rusty since I haven't recorded one of these in a while. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to need someone to assist me in it, and who better to assist me than my own boss himself, Brian Ireland.
Your boss, your colleague, brother, your colleague. It's good to be here,
colleague,
mate.
yeah. Colleague, boss. Same thing, really.
Yeah,
in this case,
true.
thankfully.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Brian, that was a great win yesterday. We finally, I just want to announce this because it's actually real. You don't need anyone to pinch you into to, make you wake up from a dream. We did win 2 games in a row, meaning that we finally broke this absolutely cursed run of form that we've been on for, I think, Brian, you were saying to me beforehand, like 15 games in a row.
Yeah, something like 14, 15 games in all competitions. It was back and forth. There may have been one or two scenarios where there was like 2 losses in a row, but there was never 2 wins in a row. So yeah, it was pretty poor.
Thank God for that. Yeah. So, in this video, folks, we're just going to break down briefly Conte's tactics and maybe even go over the team's mentality as well, and just basically find out how we managed to finally win against and win 2 games in a row and also beat one of our London rivals. And
in London, also, dude, we won in London 2 games in a row. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Finally, 2 games in a row. Yeah, I forgot. And also, West Ham, they lost their cup final as well. So I just wanted to put that out there. The only cup final they'll ever be in regardless. So, Brian, it was the same squad as always because, we have limited number, and of course, Skip, Tanganga, all them, even unfortunately Sessegnon is still injured. So we had to put out the same squad that we used against Brighton. And, it's largely unchanged from the squad that started off the cursed run of form in the first place. So and Conte basically used the same tactics, same formation, same system, really.
Yep.
Really. And, the only thing that seemed different was the substitutions, but those changed with every game. So what do you think we did differently?
I think that was the key thing. I think what you're asking is why did it all of a sudden work? I think it's consistency and using the same players with the same tactic over a long period of time eventually got them to understand what it is that he wants them to do. So despite it seeming like maybe he should try something different, the tactic is to stick with what he wants them to learn how to do. Consistently make them do it over and over again until they get it, and I think we've started to see them get it. We talked a little bit about momentum, and I think we talked a bit about it in a podcast last week about the game against United, how we didn't necessarily play that bad, but we didn't get the result. But the way we played, the way we controlled the game, the possession, all of those things, his style and what he's trying to bring is coming to fruition, and I think it's just consistency over a long enough period of time. The players finally got there.
I mean, yeah, I think that's it. Because the fact that they've been playing together for so long now, I mean, you'd expect them to gel, especially in the system. And we were even going on about this on like the podcast, how they just seem over time, they've just been looking like that they're working better together as a team, like especially playing from the back and even on the counter attacks. Yep. And if you notice as well, just want to touch this quickly, our long passing is absolutely unbelievable lately.
That's incredible, isn't it?
I mean, Kane's pass to Son for his goal, what I think it was unbelievable.
Fantastic. One of the best passes I've seen from any player, but let alone a player is supposed to be a 9, but is obviously playing in 2 positions, but doing it well. To add to your point there about the passing is one, I don't know if you've noticed as well, but it's something I wanted to talk about, so this is a good time to do it, is the cross field passing, the switching from the defender to a defender or from a center half to somebody who's on the wing, whether it's a wing back who's further forward or one of the front 3. But there's this stretching that it seems to happen on a regular basis. I'm pretty sure that Conte has kind of instilled that, and it turns out we have the players to do it. Dyer's always kind of had a pretty good pass on him, but Romero, his passing's fantastic. He's got a pass on him, and it's just it's really making defenses uncomfortable because they're not quite sure how to manage that. They have to shift with the entire team, and then we stretch them out and we pull them apart so there's space in behind, which is working really well. Great tactic from Conte.
It's actually a good point you make, and to be honest, overall, I think this is the best they've played as a whole team all season, not just as a set group of individuals, with just Kane and Son being a class above the rest of them. Yeah. So I just wanted to ask you as well. Do you think now top four is back on like properly?
Well, you'll know me because on our last show last week on Friday we did
Yeah,
the pop up,
just
and
wanted to make sure.
we got into this discussion, and of course I was slightly berated to some extent for good reason for being the positive one, saying that I think we can still get top four. I think Brian was, oh come on, no way, and I think you were, oh come on, no way, and I think most people were saying there's no way, and of course I'm going to say, arguably based on what we've seen so far this season, it's hard to disagree with you guys that we won't likely get it, but I've seen something in the squad the last few games, consistency, a momentum, a style that I think Conte came out even at a post game in his interview in the press conference and said they're starting to play the way I want them to play. This is my Tottenham. This is my team. And the players, it just seems like that's the case. And when you build that type of momentum with a manager like Conte, with the quality he has, and let's be honest, with the quality starting 11 that we now have, with Kulusevski and Bentancur and what they've been able to do for this team, we have to dream a little bit. I mean, why do you watch football if you don't want your team to win? So for me,
Exactly, yeah.
getting top four, I think, is absolutely on. It's going to be hard. It's going to take us to go on a better run. And I've said this for ages, that one team has to go on a run to make sure that they get that. That team right now is Arsenal. They've gone on a run. They've had one loss in the last 6, I think, and that was against Liverpool, who are arguably them and City fighting for the league. So they have been very consistent, and we're just starting to get there. So if we can maintain that for the rest of the season, put the pressure on a very young Arsenal side, can we get top four? I think we can. I'm not saying that it's done and dusted, that it's likely, but I think now the way we're playing and with the form we're in and the momentum gained, I absolutely think that we can put the pressure on a very young Arsenal side and potentially pip them for it. But it's going to be tight, and let's not get anything wrong here. Man United are still in that conversation. West Ham,
Definitely.
I think, are going to fade because of what we've seen from their lack of bolstering in January has kind of come to bite them a little bit when it comes to injuries and such. So Man United, they're only a point behind us. I think we've got one game in hand. So of course you got to win that game in hand, but that game against Arsenal in the North London Derby is everything, because that's probably going to decide who finishes in that fourth spot.
That's probably going to be the biggest derby in a long time,
Yeah, huge, right?
without the shadow of a doubt.
I'm
And also,
nervous. I'm
speaking
very
of now,
nervous.
yeah, exactly. Oh, so am I, man. I'm always
Yeah.
nervous for a derby anyway, but that doesn't mean I won't be pumped for it on the day. And actually, speaking of top four, this actually like leads into what I wanted to ask you next, and just
Sure.
talk to you about next, and that's the mentality of the squad.
Okay.
Now, I'm like a broken record. I think we all are at this point. I'm just talking about the team's mentality, but I mean, if it's fact, it's fact. Like, and
Yep.
mentality of this squad is such a huge factor in whether they turn up on the day or not, or whether they can fight for top four, fight for trophies or anything. And Conte said in his press conference when actually talking about top four, and this is how they're connected. He said, if you want to improve the mentality, it is right to start under pressure. Tottenham needs to have the ambition to play the best competition. And from that, I reckon he's basically saying, look, if we want to improve the mentality, we have to get practice in going for top four and fighting against these top teams and just going all out against them. Do you think that's what he's saying? And also, the fact that we've now won 2 games in a row, do you think the mentality is starting to slowly but surely shift, in a positive direction?
Yeah, I mean, I think those are both very good questions. I'll start with the first one. I think pressure for these players is to learn how to be under it and manage it. And I think we are starting to see some changes in that. Some of the games where we've been under the cosh, probably you could say from about the 60th minute yesterday until about the 80th before we scored the third goal. West Ham had more of the ball. They were creating more. It looked like we were going to be under pressure. Normally, I think most of us are and I was sitting next to Brian Daigle at Scotland Yard, and he was kind of shitting himself a little bit as we're watching it. And I was just like, put my arm on and said, "Mate, we got this. Look, it's under control." This is something that was different for me and has been different the last few games, but particularly saw it, I think, come to fruition in arguably, despite Brighton we needed to win that 100%. Man United needed to win and 100% didn't. This is a West Ham game. This is we hopped them in the league. We're now in a position of control over that situation. We're now in a position of control over United. This was a must-win game that we took the pressure on and dealt with it, and then dealt with it in a game, in a moment, and came through, scored that third goal, and a really nice third goal as well. So yeah, I think the mentality is changing. I think you notice it in the coach the most, and that's where you'll see when he's comfortable, that the team's comfortable. Because in press conferences, even pregame as well, he's calm now. He was always so erratic. Because he was erratic, like we were erratic, Yeah, the ups and downs. He was going through them with the fans and with the players themselves, and I think it was intentional. I think of course, I'm speculating here, but I think, and we've seen him do this before at previous clubs he's been at, where he sort of goes on that ride with the fans to try to and the players to try to let them understand the value of the up and the down, so they know what it feels like to be down and they know what it feels like to be up, and then to find a way to maintain that up, or at least as close as they can get to it as possible for an extended period of time. And I think that's what we're going to see for the rest of the season. Don't get me wrong, I think it's going to be blips. I mean, it is still a team learning in this situation, but I do think that we're in a very good situation going to these last nine games, and I think the mentality, as to your question, has changed in this team. Again, it's not perfect yet. There will be blips, but they're seemingly thinking and feeling the way the manager wants them to, and that's everything.
Brilliant points. And you know what? I actually think the same, really, because as I know not to finish the article, and we need maybe a bit more players and so on, but the players we have at the minute are actually doing the job overall. And if we continue on this path, then there's no.
We don't get any injuries, Adam.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh man, I was about to say something so positive that you brought up.
Sorry, but I mean it's international break right now too, right? All we can do is hope they all come back fit.
Yeah, back fit as well. Jeez. Well, we hope, because Tottenham don't have the best record of players going to international breaks and not getting injured. So, but we'll keep it positive and we'll say, if all goes to plan, then there's no reason why we shouldn't get top 4 this season. And you know what? This video is about how we bet West Ham and broke the curse. You know what? I think one key factor that we haven't spoke about yet is, and one player, I think you all know who it is watching, and Brian, you know who it is. It's Heung-min Son with that absolutely star-studded performance yesterday. And also a good performance from Bentancur as well, even Kulusevski.
Yeah, I think we got to give Sonny as much credit as he deserves in this case, because I think he has been on that kind of cusp of like, what's happened to Sonny? I think in our last podcast earlier last week was what's going on with Sonny. He's dropped off. I think he had some issues with his boots. He's doing some slipping and sliding around. He just didn't look like the player that we know him to be. And then this was a response from him, and what a response! I mean, he was incredible on and off the ball. Just really, really so important. And of course, his connection with Kane is going to be absolutely massive for the run-in too. But yeah, Sonny was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And when it comes to Bentancur and Kulusevski, those two players coming in again, it's hard not to discuss how much of an effect they've had on the way we play, but it's been incredible.
Do you know what? I knew that the two of them were going to make some sort of an impact, but I couldn't have guessed that they were going to make an impact like straight away, like this, and in such a short space of time. Like, they've only been here for 2 months and they're doing the job that we want them to do. I mean, I wouldn't have expected it, but you know what? I've always been a bit too cynical, so you know what that'll teach me.
Yeah. It's funny. It's a funny one, because I don't think you're even being cynical there. I think it's an honest position. Most players who come in January don't, for any club, for any team, in any scenario, don't acclimatize this quickly. It's an anomaly. It's not something that happens all the time. And not only did it not only happen all the time, but it's changed the way Spurs play. And that's a massive thing. And also, when we talk about mentality, because again, this is the breaking the duck. When these players start to play at the level they're playing at, and the quality that's in them and how it affects everybody else around them in the squad, and their mentality coming from Juventus, coming from a team that is one of the biggest in Europe, one of the biggest in the history of football. They were scouted by that team, played in that team, won league titles in that team, competed in the Champions League in that team. They know what this is about, what it means to step up in difficult situations, and I think they deserve some credit in how we've managed to break this duck, but also how the team's playing with them in it. It's been remarkable what has happened with those two players coming in January, and how much I can't even imagine our team without them now.
I can't either.
Yeah, incredible.
I mean, can you imagine if we had to stick with like Winks and even like Moura on the left wing? As good as Moura can be, like, he's just not a Kulusevski.
Yeah, more is good. More is good. A good off the bench. He's now playing the role that he should always been playing, and that is an 80-minute sub for Kulu or Decky, whatever we're supposed to call him, to rest him for the next game, because Decky just offers so much more when it comes to being off the ball, on the ball, assisting, being part of that three. Whereas Mora kind of just did his little bits and pieces of running and stuff. Didn't offer a heck of a lot from an assist perspective and creative perspective. So absolutely massive Kulusevski and Bentancur in that midfield. What a player.
Yeah.
Classy.
So to conclude the video, so where we go from here, I think, in my opinion, we just need to knuckle down after the international break. And like you said earlier, if we don't get any injuries, we just need to press on. The mentality needs to change a bit more, because, like, it's slowly but surely, getting better and getting to that winning mentality that Conte has instilled in, well, basically all his teams in the past 5+ years.
Yep.
So if we get there, then we should get top 4. But whether we will, unfortunately, is an entirely different story. And we have to remember the other teams around us. But hopefully they can like even get worse.
It could happen. I mean, anything can happen, right? We've got Newcastle up next at home, and then we've got Villa. I think it's away in our next 2 games. Those are 2 winnable games. And we play the Newcastle game before Arsenal plays their next game, so we could arguably be tied with them and put them under that pressure that we talked about, which is a really good position to be in that first weekend back from international break. So massive game against Newcastle, and a team we should be able to beat at home. Like I said, put Arsenal under pressure and see if the kids can deal with it.
Yeah, that's a good point. So you know what? I think we'll end the video there, albeit rather...
Thanks for having me, buddy. Fantastic stuff.
Thanks for helping me. I mean, I could not have done this on my own anyway. And, like, maybe in the next video, you watching will see me on my own, or with even someone else in the channel.
I enjoy this, mate. So if you want to keep doing it, let's keep doing it.
Exactly,
it's a fun chat. So for sure.
Sure, I'll bring you one whenever you're free and whenever I feel I need help, which knowing me will probably be like 90% of the time. But anyway... Look, I just want to say to any of you watching that if you've enjoyed the video, please make sure to like and even share it with anyone who you think may be interested. Also, subscribe to the channel, and starting tomorrow, we're going to be getting a new sponsorship that we maybe have already announced, but just in case we haven't, Brian has just flushed the Manscaped t-shirt there. So yeah, it's Manscaped.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, Manscaped, and our sponsorship will be officially starting tomorrow. So. We're glad to have them on board as well, sponsoring the channel and the North End podcast as well. Also, subscribe to that channel as well if you haven't. That's our sister channel that Brian and his friends run. So I'll go over there as well. And of course, as always, come on, you Spurs. Tottenham On Tour. Tottenham On Tour.